to my Monday Night Raw recap, and I'm bringing it to you live today. First things first. Shout out to everybody that competed in the Royal Rumble and the Money in the Royal Rumble and everything else, and the storylines that are coming up for WrestleMania, and we are looking forward to Roman Reigns versus CM Punk at WrestleMania if it still happens, because we're going to have an announcement today. Um, First things first on the segment, they opened up with chorus showing CM Punk walking through the entrance, not entrance, but the hallway tunnel with his wife AJ Lee, and at that point, we seen Becky Lynch throw her arms up, which they wanted to get the promotion, I guess, ready for that. Of course, they confronted each other in the ring. Becky wanted to call herself like how she always pronouncedly says, "I'm the greatest women's wrestler of all time," which makes me the goat. And of course, AJ has something to say about it since she has beaten her in the past. And with all of that, with all of that, AJ had basically taunted Becky to defend her women's Intercontinental Championship against her at Elimination Chamber. So we will have that Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee at Elimination Chamber in Chicago. So that match is official. So that is that is another match on the card to be looking forward to come this later on in February. Again, there's still more Money in the Bank, Elimination Chamber qualifying matches that they were still getting to. It was announced that unfortunately Braun Breaker is out due to a herniated injury, and will be missing time out unfortunately for WrestleMania. So hoping that he'll be back well into the Vision lineup mix up. I'm sorry, but hopefully, like I said, he'll be back in time. Like hopefully he'll be back and fully healthy to perform. We had Austin Theory, who was going to be featured in a triple threat match that included him, Penta, and LA Knight, which ended up turning into a pretty fairly contested contest. I'm gonna get into that more so later on, because there was a tag team championship match actually between the Usos and the Alpha Academy. The Usos, Jay and Jimmy against the Alpha Academy, which was Tozawa and Otis. The one thing I could say is that they definitely gave Tozawa and Otis a rightfully deserved push. It's been a while since Alpha Academy has been in any major spotlight of any matchup since Chad Gable has left the faction, or this fuse off the faction. So it was great to see them finally getting some TV time and lineup, because it was, like I said, it's been a while since we've seen Otis as a major card factor. So he's always been a great entertainer for what he has been. So now, like I said, it is great to see them get a championship match. They did lose, unfortunately, 1D from the Usos, so they still had retained their championship. It was a great showcasing from Otis and Tozawa. Again, are they going to probably be featured in maybe another championship matchup? Who knows? Probably so. Maybe in the near future. Who knows? We could probably end up seeing more of them. Like I said, it is a really good, relatively good and open tag team division now. Now that you got the Usos completely back in the mix up, and with so many things, like I said, with the New Day, so many other tag teams, factions that might be formed for like a few months or so, but relatively, the tag team division has still been relative as far as everything has been on Raw. And we can go ahead and get to also the next segment, of course. Dirty Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan, they wanted to tease their Dom, like, because Dominic had returned again and then had wanted to walk out with Liv, which makes a lot of sense. And of course, Stephanie Valkyrie had a few words for Liv, especially because when she had received her Oblivion at the end of her match against against Raquel Rodriguez when she retained her women's championship. So it was a good little promotional time to go ahead and show. Again, I love the Spanish. For me, I love the Spanish interaction that they had in order to broadcast it on live TV. It was a great way, to promote in a different great way to promote in a different language in order to get another across the board. Again, because of their cross brand promotion with AAA, I really do love the promotion that they're giving other different platforms. So it was a really good way to, I guess, market, but also get the outreach out there and everything. Again, because we could highly see, I don't know if anybody's going to be too highly anticipated, but I am kind of anticipated to see Liv Morgan versus Stephanie Valkyrie somewhat. Um, as far as there was another uh again, because we have two elimination chambers, so there will be the men's and there will be the women's elimination chamber match, and Rhea Ripley versus Ivy Nile versus Lyra Valkyrie. And that match ended up being a completely interesting one. I'm not gonna lie, I thought Ivy Nile was going to maybe have her first push for a while. It didn't happen tonight. Lyra looked very well. I can honestly say, the whole matchup within itself, I do honestly like the triple threat concept that they're having for all these qualifying matchups. Very intriguing, but Rhea ended up pulling it off with Lyra ending up hitting her finisher, which then Rhea ended up hitting her with a knee, and then it was Riptide for the win. So Rhea is inside the women's elimination championship number one contender elimination chamber match, her and Tiffany Stratton. So that will be interesting to see again because we already have some of the Royal Rumble winners already declaring who they're going to face. Again, like I said, we have for Roman for Punk, and we're still going to be figuring out far as the men's, like for the WWE Universal Undisputed Championship, will be ended up figuring that out. Within the meantime, I'm guessing, like I said, as things roll on its way to WrestleMania, like I said, we're getting towards Elimination Chamber. There might end up being, like I said, maybe another fork in the road. If I'm not mistaken, there is going to be another triple threat contendership another triple threat elimination chamber contendership matchup between Jacob Fatu, Cody Rhodes, and Sami Zayn on this Friday night SmackDown. If you are going to watch that, so be in tune for that. And I'm going to get to another part of the segment because one of the things in reference over the years that never had got talked about and for so long, and it's been blanketed underneath the rug, but for the years that Finn Balor has put in, it's crazy how he's never gotten another shot at the World Heavyweight title or any major belt since that whole debacle with him and Roman in his last picture with the Fiend, with not the Fiend. I'm sorry, the Demon for other Finn's other character. So to hear Finn finally speak on that, finally after so long, it was well deserved. And at this point, I am glad he took that approach per se because we never had got a clear answer. It was the ring buckle exploded and it was nothing else, and he never had another shot. Even though I think that was his only his first run or first crack at the title, but that was just it. And so I like how he teased the fact that he hurt Punk, and now that we're getting CM Punk defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Finn Balor at Elimination Chamber for the World Heavyweight Championship in Chicago. So now that is another match to be looking forward to. Also, again, because for me, Finn is the first ever WWE Undisputed Championship, and for the non-acknowledgement of him not even having a fair shot is definitely one that had definitely not set in well, especially with speaking with certain type of fans. So now in this aspect, it really does. needs to be touched. I'm glad, like I said, that finally had got touched on after so many years because that's been since 20, I think since like 2021 at this point. And yeah, Finn does deserve a straight 1-on-1 for a fair shot at the major championship. So non-contestant, uncontested, you can say however, but I'm glad that they touched on that segment per se. And then we also had another premiere matchup. This was actually pretty decent. It was Javon Evans and his mysterious tag team partner against not Grand Metalik, but it was against the guys that surround El Grande Americano, the guy that's playing him now, which um again I can't for sake of argument, for sake of interest, I just still keep you know Ludwig Kaiser out of that lineup, but Javon Evans' tag team partner ended up being the original, the original Grande Americano, which it was great to see his return. Again, I do miss Chad Gable, but but we ended up seeing El Grande Americano coming back. Pretty interesting sequence at the end. We saw a bunch of ankle lock. We saw a bunch of German suplexes. Um, how's it going on, man? And we saw a whole bunch of, like I said, things going on that we would normally see from Chad Gable, but we saw in El Grande Americano, and we've seen probably Javon Evans. I've said this probably in so many previous lives beforehand, but Javon Evans is going to be 2026's highlight reel as far as Monday Night Raw is concerned. If anybody, I am going to. Me personally, I like good women that's going to be submissive and listen. So I had to be a good leader, if that makes sense. That I do prefer anyone that's going to be equal, more so. But Javon Evans ended up going on ahead and hitting one of the most infamous top rope cutters that I've seen since Matt Riddle at one point in time caught uh, somebody at WrestleMania was tag teaming with Randy Orton to retain their tag team championships. So that was the first mid-air cutter that I've seen from off another turnbuckle, and it was well timed. I'm going to eventually put that on my channel for everybody to look and view. But it was a perfect moment, to be honest with you. It was the highlight of the night for me personally. Again, Javon Evans has been a roller coaster ride in order to view. I really just enjoy the antics and stunt the scenes that he has pulled off, and literally has been adoring ever since. So it really is great to go ahead and see where that's going to go. And for the final matchup of tonight, and I believe there's no more segments after this, we've had the triple threat number one contendership match. It was LA Knight versus Austin Theory versus believe it's Penta. Yeah, believe it's Penta. And Adam Pearce already had told Paul Heyman that's what it is. He doesn't want the vision anywhere near there. Unfortunately, Logan Paul and Big Bronson Reed did come down. They ended up getting taken out completely, and no lie, kind of expected this because LA Knight has been on a tear. Welcome back since he's been back last week. And I've been glad that now he's going to give it to the Vision per se. Storyline is written, but I am glad that now he is going to go ahead and get his chunk of meat from off of the Vision from when they had took him out back in early December. So now he's on a way to improving his way back into the lineup, which we are going to go ahead and see because he ended up hitting the his finisher on Austin, which gave him the win, which now he is also included in this year's Elimination Chamber. So, again, we have tons of superstars that are added into the Elimination Chamber. There's a lot of storylines to go ahead and be induced with. So, realistically, we are inclined to like we are going to have a lot to look forward to. And I will be doing probably like my NXT coverage later on this evening. Um, if you would, please drop a like, make sure you subscribe. And if you are a part of my wrestling fandom, then please make sure you again hit the like, subscribe, make sure you follow me on my social media platforms, and be in tune with me later on this evening. And I will go ahead and get in touch with y'all later on and be in touch with y'all later on another time frame. And we'll be covering NXT. So please make sure you have a great morning, great evening, depending on where you are, and stay great, everyone. Take it easy.